Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Tuesday, March 17th edition of our video devotionals. We appreciate you being with us today, and I do hope your Tuesday's going well. Big cool down for us. We were right at 29, 30 degrees this morning, and we won't get very warm today. And then I think for the next two nights, we've got lows in the 20s, and so you've got, winter trying to stay and spring's trying to come in. Friday officially is the first day of spring. So that being said, we're kind of used to this, and when you see it, just say, that's part of the process. Springs are coming; it'll get here, but sometimes there's that cold and warm air battle, and that's kind of just the way it is. But hopefully, everything's going well where you're at. All right, we're going to be in Deuteronomy 17 today, three verses 11, 12, and 13. Find that if it is your custom. We'll be there just in a moment. Otherwise, we want to say, like we always do, thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments and acknowledgments. We appreciate you very much. All right. Deuteronomy 17, this is talking about judges. You have a matter and you bring it to the judge so a decision can be made. Notice what it says in verse 11. According to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee to the right hand nor to the left. So whatever the decision is by that judge, that's what you do. There's no changing. In this life, sometimes we may not agree with things and all of that, but God has established authorities, and there's people in authority that has to make a decision. And if everybody had to make the decision that the leader had to make, then, you'd have a big mess. There's always got to be a leader somewhere. The home needs a leader. The government, we need leaders. All that, the boss. There has to be a boss. There has to be somebody that's running the company, running the show. All of that. There has to be an authority in the church, and I'm saying that because things would go much better. And obviously, in this case, you want somebody to make righteous judgment, something that God would say this is the way the judgment should be carried out. And here's the sentence. So that being said, that's why you do what the judge would say. Now notice verse 12. And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. And thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. All right, let's just stop here. All right, you see this. I looked up the word presumptuously. That's an interesting word, not used very much in the Bible at all, and it has the sense of arrogance, proudly. There's something about people, all of us, that can sin and do wrong because of weakness. We succumb to the temptation, whatever it might be. And sin is sin. It's wrong. We're supposed to ask God for forgiveness, change that, and grow from it and be better, and don't duplicate it again. Don't do it again. But there's some people that when it comes to sinning, they're very proud. They're going to do it. Hey, the judge, the priest, nobody's going to tell them that they can't do it. And the Bible speaks about that presumptuous man. Suppose it was a sentence laid out and said, hey, here's the sentence, here's what needs to be done. He says, I don't care. I'm just not going to do that, very proudly and defiant. Well, the Bible says about that particular man that you are supposed to separate him from among the people. The Bible says he would die. Now, there's a New Testament principle that basically goes with this. In other words, we don't execute people in our churches. We don't do that. We've got civil authority and all of that. But there is a principle about the evil that is amongst God's people. And there is situations in which when someone sins, they're presumptuous about it. There's ways to deal with that. And basically, there's supposed to be a separation there. Now, I think it takes a good, godly, spiritual mindset to be able to do that. Because I think there's far too many people that like to walk around and carry out sentences, and in some cases, they're not even in that position to do it. But boy, they like to unleash that sentence. They like to unleash that judgment. And, only God can do that in a righteous way. And God does give certain leaders and puts them in that position where they need to do that. But there's that. And then notice verse 13, and all the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumptuously. There is something about a deterrence. When someone has judgment come against them, especially like this, their life is taken, then the other people see it. And the Bible says there is a deterrent there. They look at it and say, you know what? I better not do that. I better not act like that. And the Bible says they would not do no more presumptuously, proudly, arrogantly. And so there's that. So there's a principle there, and that's why you need to make sure watch with the people that you run with. If they don't like where you go to church, they don't like God, they don't read the Bible, they may not be saved. Your close ties with people like that, they're going to bring you down, and they're going to cause you not to do the will of God. They're going to cause you, in some cases, to do things that they would do that's just not right. And so that's why there needs to be a separation from hey, it's one of the reasons why church is supposed to be the place where God's people are on the same page, thinking the same way, living the same way, and certainly not having an arrogant attitude about how I'm going to go out here and do what I want to do. And certainly if it means I do something wrong, then so be it. I'm going to do it because that's what I'm going to do. Well, God said for that man in that day, no, separate him from you. And let's make sure we're just careful with things like this and just be humble before our God. And that's the right attitude. All right. Have a great day, safe day, healthy day. Lord willing, we'll see you back tomorrow. Thank you for watching.